Hello everyone. So today we will see the mass transfer solutions of GATE 2018 paper. Let's start it. Let's start with the marks distribution. So there were 6 questions which were contributed by the mass transfer, which combined to give 10 marks. And out of 6, 2 are from the 1 marks question and 4 are of the 2 marks question. So it's like 10% was contributed by the mass transfer only in GATE 2018. Moving forward to the first question. So this question is from the surface renewal theory, where they are asking like what is the unit of the fractional rate of surface renewal. So let's understand the basic things about it first. So as you are very well aware, there are 4 to 5 theories. Film theory, then we have penetration theory, third comes the surface renewal, then 2 film theory, and there is one more extra, that is the boundary layer theory. So these 5 theories combine to give the mass transfer theories. Then let's understand this, what is surface renewal theory here. So it's a unsteady state model, and it assumes few things which were considered as the drawback in the penetration theory. So penetration theory said that every let's say you have a bubble, air bubble, which is moving in the liquid, and when it is moving, the water droplets that come on the surface of the bubble to dissolve the air in that one, they are spending equal time. So every single droplet is spending equal time, which was the drawback in that case. And they gave they come with the new assumptions. They mentioned that every single droplet is not necessarily spend the equal amount of time. And second, these liquid elements, or you can say the liquid droplets that come on the surface of the bubble to dissolve the air in that one, are being randomly replaced by the fresh elements from the bulk. Second thing is that the probability of being replaced every single droplet is equal for every droplet which is on the surface at any moment of time. So if let's say 100 droplets are available at any moment of time, so the probability of being replaced any single droplet has the same probability. And they provided a new model parameter, which is the rate of surface renewal, or you can say surface renewal frequency, which comes as that mass transfer coefficient is equal to the square root of diffusivity into fractional rate of surface renewal. Now coming to the question, so question says that tell us the unit of the surface renewal, a fractional rate of surface renewal. So it's like you have to, you know the formula, K is equal to the square root of DABS. So S will come as the square of the mass transfer coefficient to the diffusivity, and we know that the mass transfer coefficient is meter per second, whereas DAB is meter square per second. So when you will solve, you will end up with the second inverse. So this is the unit of the fractional rate of surface renewal. Now moving on to the second question. So this question is related to absorption, or we can say mass transfer 2 also. It's also a 1 mark question. And this question is more of like related to chemical technology also. Okay, so I put it in the mass transfer just because the options were very related to the mass transfer. So they are asking that there is a H2S in the what we call the biogas. When you produce biogas, there was H2S also, and they are asking we have to remove that H2S using the aqueous alkanolamine solution. And they are asking once it will be dissolved, what will be the mass transfer resistance in the liquid or in the solution. So there were 4 options. And regarding the whole process, this absorption of H2S and all those things, I have attached a link also. You can go through in more detail. There is a 44-45 page of PDF is available, which will give you a complete idea about like why exactly we do. But here I will give you a basic picture about this topic first. Okay, so that's exactly what happens. So what happens, like when you produce the biogas, so there are basically 2 types of gases that you will see, methane and carbon dioxide, but there are few traces of hydrogen sulfide and ammonia also. Now we need to remove this CO2 and H2S from the system. That's what generally we do, because they are not good for the system. So we need to use this methanol amine solution. okay, to absorb that CO2 and H2S from the biogas to improve its performance. And why do we need the CO2? So CO2 is basically reducing the heating value of the gas, because if you will see, the normal biogas has 21 megajoule, whereas pure methane has 36 megajoule per Newton meter cube calorific value. So presence of CO2 is reducing the calorific value of the gas. Second reason is the transportation cost because of the presence of CO2. Now if we look at this H2S, the removal of H2S is required because the mechanical components of the engine get corroded if while you will use the methane as a source of energy. So what exactly happens when this H2S comes in contact with the monoethanolamine solution? So this one reacts with this one and you will get a completely new product. And this is a reversible instantaneous reaction. So it means it is reacting actually. It's not absorbing in the solution. It will absorb first, but it will react with the solution. So it means there will be no trace of H2S in the liquid phase. So there will be no resistance also in the liquid phase. Okay, so that's why the answer for the first question is that, so negligible compared to the gas phase. Why? Because there will be no trace of H2S in the liquid phase. Okay, and the PDF is in the link. Now before we go further, if you like this video, so then subscribe our channel, hit the bell icon button so that you will have future notifications also. Now moving forward to the next question. This question is related to liquid extraction. Now it's little interesting question here. So what they have provided here is that we have a feed F. So we have a feed here which comes in contact with the pure solvent. Both have the same quantity and we have two stages, 1 and 2. Now this feed has two components, A and B. A is of 20 mole percent and B is of 80 mole percent, and this is pure solvent. So there is no trace of A in the C. Now first condition they have mentioned is that this A, B and C are completely immiscible into each other. So what it means is that A will be here. So once they will come in contact and will reach the equilibrium condition, the C will extract some amount of A, but there will be no trace of B in this extract. So in E1, E2, there will be only A and C, and in this one only B and C, raffinate. Now what exactly they have mentioned is that, so X and Y is provided to us, as the B and C are completely immiscible, so they are using molar ratio rather than mole percent. So it's X is represented by the mole A by B. So A by B means we are always talking about in this direction. Okay, so X will be represented in this direction and Y will be represented in this direction. Now let's consider we have 100 moles of feed. Okay, so it means 20 moles of A are there and 80 moles of B are there. Now when we look at the first stage, stage 1, when we go to the stage 1, so they have mentioned that this C will extract 60% of 20 mole percent of A. So they mentioned that 60% of A has been extracted in E1. So what it means is that 12 moles of A has been extracted. So out of 20, 12 will be extracted in this direction and remaining 8 will go in this direction. So 12 moles will go this direction and 8 moles will go in the raffinate, will remain in the raffinate, and 12 will go in the extract. So now we have to find and these two conditions R1 and E1 are in equilibrium to each other, right? So what it means is that Y star is equal to 1.5x, and Y star is the ratio in which case? In the extract phase. An extract phase is either A or C, so it will be A by C. Okay, whereas 1.5x represents A by B, that is the raffinate side, it will be A plus B. So when we will solve this equation, so we know that A in this case has been extracted 12 moles and the remaining 8 moles will be left on this side. So which means 12 by C is equal to 1.5 into 8 by 80, which comes as C is equal to 80 moles. So now we know that 80 moles has been used here, 80 moles has been used here, and we have introduced 100 moles. Okay, now they will come in contact to each other, and first at the first stage they will reach the equilibrium condition. Now this raffinate, which is left with 80 moles of B and 8 moles of A, now comes in contact with the pure solvent one more time and again reach the equilibrium. And they have asked what will be the mole percent of A in the raffinate. I mean, how much moles are still left in the raffinate after using the pure solvent to extract the percentage of A. So when we reach to the stage number 2, in the stage 2, we have balanced these four components, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the component A has been balanced in all the 4 cases. So we know that 8 moles are available here. There are no moles of A in the raffinate, and so whatever is left is 80 into 1.5x and plus 80x. One is in the raffinate, this side it will be raffinate and this side will be extract. So this way we will balance all the equations and we end up with the value of x. X says that it is the ratio of A to the B. This is A by B. This is A by B is equal to x 1 by 25. But they are asking not the mole ratio, they are asking mole fraction. So we will calculate it separately. So x will be 1 by 25. So A by B will be 1 by 25. So and B still remains 80 because this is not getting dissolved. So 80 it will remain here and again it will remain here 80. So we know the quantity of B the whole time. It will remain again 80. So we will end up with 3.2 moles of A left. So we started with the 20 moles, 8 moles left in the raffinate 1 and 3.2 moles left in the next stage, the stage number 2 where we are end up with 3.2 moles. Now we need to calculate the mole percent. So mole percent will be 3.2 divided by B plus A again. 3.2 divided by 80 plus 3.2 which will end up into 3.84%. So this is our fourth question and this question is of 2 marks from the distillation. This question is also a little tricky. You just know you should have a basic knowledge about the stripping section, rectifying section, the feed line and all those things. Then it's easy to attempt this question. Let's understand this question first. They mentioned that we have a feed A plus B and we are end up with a distillate of 0.9. Okay, we have a binary mixture and they have mentioned the composition of A to us as 0.9. Okay, so if we will look at the curve, the XY curve, we will see that this point, this is the 0.9 into 0.9 from where the rectifying operating line starts. And they mentioned that this line will cut the y-axis at 0.3. So this will be 0, 0.3. So we know both the coordinates 0.9, 0.9 and 0.3. So we know both the coordinates. And they have asked us that what will be the ratio of the liquid flow rate to the vapor flow rate, L by V ratio. Now if we will look at the rectifying operation line, so this is our line. That's how we write for the operating line for the rectifying section. So now we have this value. So this is the slope L by V and they have asked us the same thing. So L by V will be y2 minus y1 0.9 minus 0.3 divided by 0.9 minus 0. So that's what we did and we end up with a 6.9 or 6 by 9 or is it 0.667. That's the ratio of the liquid flow rate to the vapor flow rate. So before we go further, let me just update you with few booklets that you can use for the gate preparation. It's just a sidekick. Okay, so just you will be aware like what type of booklets you should use. So there are some like engineering mathematics from the Made Easy is available. We have the reasoning and aptitude available from the Made Easy. Okay, this is a coaching institute not for chemical engineers but for other branches. but you can still use that type of stuff for your preparations. There is a Aryan tutor also, although I will not strongly recommend you guys. If you have two options like MSubbu and Aryan tutor, then go with the MSubbu. That's my strong recommendation for you. So MSubbu covers the question from 1987 to 2018. Okay, it's much more, I think. I think this much amount of stuff is sufficient to get you prepared for like the upcoming GATE exams. And if you want to go in more details about these books, the links are in the description box, and there is a pop-up on the top right corner. There is a video link for that one. If you want more details about these books, you can go through that link also. Now moving forward to the next question. This question is from the drawing. Okay, and yes, I would say that I attempted this question 3 times. Okay, and I did the same mistake till the third time, till I just like I looked back and back again, back and forth, till to understand like this was the mistake I was doing. I will just strongly like I will point out that mistake that I was doing. Okay, maybe you may not do this mistake, or you try to avoid that mistake. Let's understand this question first. So before we understand this question, let's understand like they have mentioned for the constant rate period, we have to find the time required to change the composition from 60% to 30% on dry basis. And this is the equation. Tc is equal to L upon ARC x1 minus x2. So if you want to go in more detail, you can pause the video and go through this complete derivation. I am moving forward with the question now. So this is the system that they have provided to us. They mentioned that there is a sheet available to us with 2 meter on this side and 1.5 meter in the width side with the height of 15 mm. And they mentioned that there will be no drying in these sides. You see, this side or the backward, this one. This side will not participate in the drying. Only the top and the bottom part of this sheet will participate in the drying conditions. And they mentioned that the complete weight of the whole system is 16 kg. The complete weight of the system is 16 kg, and they mentioned that this one is already containing 60% mole percent, the moisture content, and we have to reduce it to 30%. So how much time will it take if the drying is happening with this rate? Rate of drying is provided to us. So moving forward, first we have to find out, because as the formula says that we need L, area, RC, x1 and x2. Out of this is given to us 0.6, this is given to us 0.3, 60% and 30%. RC is also provided to us, area is also provided, L is not provided to us. The drying weight of the solid is not provided to us. So we have to find out that one. So it is provided that the 0.6 is on the dry basis. That's where I did the mistake. I was continuously thinking 60% means like out of 16 kg, 60% means like 12 kg is for this type of, and for, sorry, not 12 kg, 60 means, 6.4 kg for the dry and rest is for the moisture, but it was not exactly the case. It's said on dry basis, so it's just the ratio of m by L. Okay, but we know m plus L, so I added 1 on both sides. Okay, so it comes 1.6, this will come m plus L, and m plus L we know as 16 kg, so we just have to put it and get the value of L. That's what I did. Okay, so once you will solve, you will end up with the L as 10 kg. Okay, not like 9.4 kg. That's where I was doing the mistake again and again. Okay, it's on the dry basis. Like I mentioned, the moisture content is on dry basis. So the moisture content divided by the dry weight solid content. Now I have to just put the values in the system, and now be careful with one more thing, that this will be L like we have calculated from here, and this is the area. Area is multiplied by 2 also. You look at this one, so this is 2, this is 1.5, so it is 3, but we have to take both top and the bottom, so it will be multiplied by 2 also. Rest of the values are same, so you will, when you will solve it, you will end up with the 11.12 hours of time is required to reduce the content from 60% to 30% on dry basis. Just be careful on dry basis. Now coming to our last question, humidification, it's also a 2 marks question. So like I mentioned, the last four questions are of 2 marks each. And this question is little bit again tricky, even though if you are very well aware with the definitions, especially this definition, psychrometric ratio. You should know what is the meaning of this one. Okay, we will discuss it anyhow. So they have mentioned that we have the humidity of the air. Humidity of the air is given to us at 65 dry bulb temperature. We also have the latent heat of vaporization. Psychrometric ratio is given to us, and they have asked us that what will be the enthalpy of the air at the adiabatic saturation temperature of 35 degrees Celsius. They are asking us about the enthalpy of the air. Okay. So first we understand few definitions. So what is the psychrometric ratio? So it is the ratio of the heat transfer coefficient to the mass transfer coefficient, H by K. Okay. And it is also equal to humid heat. And what we understand from humid heat? Humid heat is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of a mixture of dry air plus water vapors by 1 degree Celsius per kg of dry air. So that's the formula for this one. This is our formula for the humid heat. Okay, now let's come back to the question. Now they have mentioned to us, like we have already pointed out, like humidity is provided to us at dry bulb temperature, and latent heat of vaporization is provided at 2000 is provided at 0 degrees Celsius. We have the humid heat, which is also the psychrometric ratio. I have already replaced it with the humid heat because in the equations you will see that this is what we need exactly. And we also have the adiabatic saturation temperature as 35 degrees Celsius, where we have to find the enthalpy. Now this is our adiabatic saturation chamber, and in that case we incident a mixture of air plus water vapors into the system, and it will reach the saturation temperature of 35 degrees Celsius. So the exit things are at 35 degrees Celsius, not at 65 degrees Celsius. So this this dry bulb is at the input and 35 is at the output. Okay, so now we will balance and calculate both side of enthalpy, like the input side and the output side. Start with the input side of enthalpy, sorry. So first I would like to very clear to you, enthalpy is not an absolute value, it's a relative value. We always compare or calculate the enthalpy with respect to some reference temperature. So in this case also, we have two components, A and B. Okay, A is the moisture content, B is the dry air. So the enthalpy of this one, the dry air, is starting from the dry bulb temperature with respect to reference temperature, which is 0 degrees Celsius as mentioned in the question also. So the humid heat into multiplied by the temperature difference. Similarly, when we go to this side, this is the humidity and this is again the enthalpy change plus may, because as the gas cannot be condensed but water can condense, so we need the latent heat of vaporization also. So combining these two components, we end up with this equation. So we just move the components here and there and we finally have this equation. Now Cb plus HCA are defined as the humid heat, like I mentioned in the definition also. So this will be Cs into Tb minus T naught. So dry bulb temperature minus T naught reference temperature plus H lambda S. H is the humidity, L is the latent heat of vaporization. Now similarly we calculate the enthalpy at the output also, where the enthalpy will be different now. Again we will have two components, but this time the temperature is not dry bulb, it's the dew point temperature, sorry, the adiabatic saturation temperature or the dry bulb dew point temperature also. So we will have all the equations here. So again we have component A and component B, but dry bulb temperature is equal to the adiabatic saturation temperature here. So we will have, and yes, humidity will also change because as it goes through the chamber, it will absorb some moisture from the chamber also. So the humidity will change in the system. So humidity will change. This is the complete temperature will change. So when we will end up, so Cb plus H bar Ca, this time the moisture content is different, so we will have the different humid heat and different humidity in the system. That's why we will have different enthalpy in the system. And now we are very well aware that system is an adiabatic system, right? It's an adiabatic system, so enthalpy will remain conserved. So both the enthalpies are same, but we don't know about the enthalpy at, sorry, the humidity at the exit of the adiabatic saturation chamber, but we know how much humidity was there when it was about to enter into the chamber. So instead of calculating E bar, we will calculate E only, because both are same. This is for the input and this is for the output. So we will calculate for the input, and this will be like Cs Ttp minus T naught plus H delta S. We know the Cs value because we know the psychometric ratio already, and it is temperature was 65 degrees Celsius and T naught was 0 degrees Celsius, and this humidity is also provided to us, latent heat is also provided to us. When you will solve, you will end up with 124.25 kilojoule per kg, and as both the values are same, we can say this value is also the enthalpy value at adiabatic saturation temperature of 35 degree Celsius. Okay, so we just have to find out the enthalpy at the input, which is all automatically equal to the enthalpy at the output. So that's how we can get the enthalpy at the adiabatic saturation temperature. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and we are continuously uploading more solutions of GATE, related to GATE in chemical engineering. So stay tuned with our channel. Thank you very much.